Okay, now we have to learn about the trapezoid body. The trapezoid body is present and showing the crisscross fibers again, and it is a transverse band of fibers, you would say, and you can see that it is present just posterior to the ventral part of the pons, right? And it consists of the fibers that originates from the vestibulocochlear nerves, cochlear nuclei, right, on both sides. So, well, imagine that the cochlear nuclei is giving rise to these trapezoid body fibers, so it makes the part and parcel of your auditory pathway, right? Okay, what important thing we are supposed to learn in this level? You can see these red nuclei. These are the nuclei of the sixth cranial nerve, that is the abducent nerve, right? So you can see them coming outwards. There is a special thing about that the seventh or facial nerve that winds round the nuclei of these abducent nerve on both sides, and that causes elevation, so hence they form the facial colliculus, right? So these are the facial colliculi that becomes the external feature, right? Okay, if you concentrate in the very center, let me show you these two red dots. They are representing the rubrospinal tract, right? And above that, you can see the tectospinal tract. And above all, you get the medial longitudinal bundles or fasciculus. So let me repeat, these are rubrospinal tract, these are tectospinal tracts, and these are the medial longitudinal bundles, right? Okay, among these, if I mark the rubrospinal and the tectospinal, they are a part of extrapyramidal system, right? As they are placed in the central nervous system, they have to control your involuntary movements and maintain the posture, right? And they work in collaboration with that of, you would say, the medial longitudinal bundle, right? Now we will see what this bundle has to do. It basically connects what? The vestibular nuclei. Do you remember the vestibular nuclei are the nuclei of the eighth cranial nerve, right? And they also are connected with that of the other cranial nerve nuclei that controls your eye movement. Let me tell you the third, fourth, and sixth cranial nerves, because whenever we are supposed to look or move our eyes towards an object, this bundle is involved. And of course, these tectospinal tract, they are also helping regarding the musculature of your face, right? Regarding this movement, whenever we get the visual stimuli or auditory stimuli, right? And these all structures, they help us to turn our face towards the moving object, right? Okay, what else you see? You see there is another structure. Let me mark. This is the medial lemniscus, of course, on both sides, right? This is one of the ascending tract we will see at this level, and just lateral to it, you observe the spinal lemniscus, right? You have heard about various lemnisci. The two of these you can see here, and what about the third lemniscus? Yes, that is the lateral lemniscus. You cannot see it here. Why? Because it is not present, or you would say that trapezoid body is supposed to finally, you would say, take part in the formation of these lateral lemnisci, and that is why here it is in the process of making. So you will observe that lateral lemniscus in the upper pons, right? Okay, if we enlarge the view much more laterally, what do you see? You see that there is the predominantly the eighth cranial nerve nuclei which are being shown here. These are the vestibular nuclei, right? The medial and the lateral, and the cochlear nuclei which are anterior and posterior to the inferior cerebellar peduncle, or you name it as ventral or dorsal, in respect to this bundle, which is a chunk of which is being shown here, the inferior cerebellar peduncle, right? Okay, another structure you can see here is the spinal nucleus, and of course the tract of trigeminal nerve, right? This spinal nucleus is in its longer way, and that is why it's being shown here, just to show you that it has to be having connection with other cranial nerves as well, right? Now concentrate on the upper part of the pons. We have taken this section at the level of trigeminal nerve, right? Now, what striking things? Yes, now we will learn about the cranial or upper part of the pons, transverse section taken at the level of the trigeminal nerve. So, what striking structures we would see here? Now, you can see the superior medullary vellum, and an important thing that the cavity of the fourth ventricle is seen fully, that wasn't completed in the lower section. Now here another thing has shown here in the tegmental or this posterior part of the pons, that is the superior cerebellar peduncle. These are added, or you would say that now it is the upper level, so we see the superior one, and when we were discussing the lower level, that was showing the inferior cerebellar peduncle. And of course the middle is present on both sides, right? Okay, now what structure you can see? Again in the midline, let me mark the structure. You will observe the rubrospinal, the tectospinal, and the medial longitudinal bundle of vesicle, right? Okay, present bilaterally. Now this is the cavity of the fourth ventricle, that is complete on both sides. Okay, this is the superior cerebellar peduncle, and let me now. Okay, as this section is, we know, taken at the level of trigeminal nerve, or a little bit upper level. So the striking things are here are the nuclei of the trigeminal nerve. The medial one, that is red, that is the main motor nucleus of the trigeminal nerve, right? And the main sensory nuclei is located laterally. So do remember that motor is medial, just to make it remember. So you can see the exit of these fibers as a trigeminal nerve, right? Okay, after that important thing, what else you would see, that here you observe various lemnisci, right? The medial one is the medial lemniscus, then a little bit adjacent to it is the trigeminal, and then adjacent to it is the spinal, and this is the lateral lemniscus. So how to remember that these all four lemnisci are being shown here, how to make them learn easily. So make a mnemonic for you, that is, let's see the movie. How it helps you? The lateral most is the lateral lemniscus, then comes the spinal lemniscus, then comes the trigeminal, and then comes the medial most, the medial lemniscus. So make this mnemonic as your pet and you will learn them easily, right? Okay, one more important thing about this, let me mark first, as we see that this is the basal part, right? And from the trapezoid body onwards we have got this tegmental part, right? Okay, okay, if we can see that this is the, you would say, basal part of the pons, and from the trapezoid body onwards this is the posterior part or tegmental part, right? This is the tegmental, and that is the basilar part. Okay, now what about the basilar part? A little bit more important information, that what type of fibers are present here. We have discussed that the pontine nuclei are there, and if we see that there should be some longitudinally running fibers, they could be corticospinal, right? Corticospinal coming from the cerebral cortex, right? And the corticonuclear, that will finally, when we see the middle oblongata at the lower region, we see the pyramidal tract being formed by these fibers, right? Then another important thing we just mentioned earlier, that there lies the pontine fibers, right? They are running transversely present and making the pontocerebellar fibers, and we know they originate from the pontine nuclei and entering into the cerebellum via the middle cerebellar peduncle, right? This all network of fibers, either these are this vertical running or the transverse running, they form the white matter of the pons, and this is similar in upper and lower pons, right? Okay, again in the same level, what else we see in the posterior tegmental part of the pons, right? Here we observe various ascending tracts as well, in addition to the descending tracts. So one thing we learn that in the tegmental part, the ascending tracts are also present and the descending tracts are also present. And in the basilar part, only descending tracts are present. That is a very important thing you should keep in mind. Okay, after these tracks, we see now what about the if we learn about gray matter, what we could mention. We can mention that there lie the, let me mark it again, the trigeminal nerve nuclei, the motor, and you would say the sensory. Okay, about the gray matter which is found in this tegmental part and the basilar part. In the basilar part, we observe so many neurons. These are of the pontine nuclei, right? Okay. And what about the tegmental part? That tegmental part is showing what the, here you observe, let me mark, these are the nuclei of the trigeminal nerve, the motor nucleus and the main sensory nucleus. And if I draw another, the mesencephalic nucleus, they are also lying here. And there should be a superior sensory nucleus here as well, right? That is about the gray matter that is located in this level, right? Okay, what about this again, the previous section that is showing you the basilar part have got similar gray and white matter. The nuclei which are pontine are forming the gray matter and the pontocerebellar fibers, and of course all the longitudinal running fibers, they cross the corticospinal and corticonuclear, they all are the white matter which is similar in both regions. Okay, now we will learn about the uh, white matter and gray matter present in the tegmental part or this posterior part. How? You can see in the very center the rubrospinal, the tectospinal and medial longitudinal fascicle. These they make the white fibers or white matter. Okay, and the fibers of this trapezoid body, that is also a part of the white matter here. And this and important thing that you can see the spinal lemniscus present here. That spinal lemniscus, that would be showing the lateral spinothalamic drag, right? So it is lying lateral to the medial lemniscus. Okay, and what other tracks you can observe? Definitely all these lemnisci which are present here, medial lemniscus, the spinal lemniscus, they are all forming the ascending tracks or white matter. And of course you can see the vestibulocochlear nerve nuclei, the vestibular nuclei and the cochlear nuclei, they form the gray matter here, right? Okay, that's all.